Do you suggest ways that companies or agencies or individuals can build trust in your book, Trust and Consequences?
Well, I think that you, whether you're an employee or whether you're treating your suppliers or your ultimate customers, you have to keep the word trust in mind with everything you do. So I don't think it's a matter of one single thing, and it's not a quick fix. It's a long-term process where you have to build up these deposits, if you will, in this trust bank, so that it does make some sense to if a company does have a problem or a crisis, the public or your employees would not think ill of you and would think that you're not the kind of company that would violate that trust.
Is trust or having a reputation for trust solely dependent on the CEO and the CEO's involvement?
No, no, I think the CEO sets the tone, and the CEO is very important for setting the tone for the trust, but I think it has to be carried out in every department of a company.
So, in other words, a company could have a reputation for being trusted or a positive, let's say like an Enron could have had, but the CEO actually, the actions did them in.
Well, I think
Is that a fair?
well, I think in that case it was not just the CEO. I think, but he must have set a tone in that company where all the others didn't think of the word trust. I think they violated it almost in every step of the way because they were taking shortcuts and things of that nature. I think you'll find that a lot of the newer companies, now this is a generalization and it may not be completely accurate, but a lot of the newer companies have been taking shortcuts because they have so much pressure on them sometimes to come up with the right earnings quarter after quarter. So they'll do things that aren't quite ethical. And in doing so, they've really destroyed the reputation of that company forever. And I think that's a case in point at Enron.
Al, is there an opportunity here, or what are the opportunities for the person in public relations or corporate communications to have an impact on a CEO's behavior in a situation like that?
Well, I think that a public relations person has a great chance to have a strong influence if he or she has the credibility within that organization. And I think sometimes that therein lies the problem, that some public relations people are not taken seriously by their top management. And that's a danger because the CEO may say, well, that's very nice to hear, but what has that got to do with the mainstream of our business? So I think that the average public relations officer of a company, or anybody within departments for that matter, has to gain the credibility of top management, or else they're not going to be effective. They'll go through the motions, but they won't have any influence at all that they really need to have in a time, such as giving advice to a top CEO.
Al, you're talking about a very significant thing from a public relations standpoint, and that's the ability of a person in the practice of public relations to develop credibility. What characteristics does someone have to have that kind of a reputation where their advice is going to be welcome and followed?
Well, I think a public relations person in an organization has to really prove that they deserve the credibility by knowing the company as well as anybody else in that company. They can't just know their own particular phase of the business. If it's a company that has distribution as part of their business, they have to know what all the nuances are of that distribution system, and they have to know everything about sales and manufacturing and things of that nature, because they'll never be taken seriously if they keep themselves isolated to think that they only want to concern themselves with what they do on a day-to-day basis.
One of the things I want to definitely touch on, because we're doing this for the Page Center in Penn State, which is also associated, as I think you know, with the Arthur Page Society. The two are working together, and one of the things that both of them has set out as a course of action is to help individuals to become counselors, or better counselors to leadership within basically the corporate world. How how do you think these organizations or individuals can help fulfill or realize an objective like that of helping individuals to become, quote, counselors to leadership, which is largely something that you have done very successfully?
Well, I think they have to, and they do, I know, in many cases, bring in people who've had direct firing line experiences, and not just the professors. Professors are important, and that's great, but I do think they need to have people who've had good case histories and things that they've learned from, the do's, the good, the bad, and the ugly of some of the activities they've been involved in. And I think that's very important for the Page Society to continue to do. And I think they've done a great job in that sense so far, and I hope they continue.